To solve a linear equation in one variable, begin by reminding yourself what the goal of this problem is. It's to get the variable by itself on one side of the equation. Make sure that all the steps you're about to do get you closer to that goal. First, if there are any fractions in your equation, as there are in this one, a good way to begin is to clear the denominators on both sides. This involves finding a common multiple of all the denominators that are present. In this example, the denominators 5 and 2 have a common multiple of 10. And then multiplying by that common multiple on both sides of the equation. This will have the effect, after distributing the multiplication and simplifying, of reducing your equation, which used to have fractions in it, into an equation involving only whole number coefficients, which is a little easier to solve. Next, if the variable exists on both sides of the equation, we have to fix that next. In order to get all the variable instances onto one side of the equation, use subtraction. We can choose to either subtract the 4y or subtract the negative 5y in this example. I'm going to choose to subtract the 4y. After subtracting 4y from both sides, there's no longer any y's on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side we can combine like terms, negative 5y minus 4y, to get negative 9y. Now that the variable exists only on one side of the equation, we just need to complete the task of getting that variable by itself. To do this, we'll use the order of operations in reverse. That means we're going to look for any addition or subtraction that we can do to get the variable to have less stuff around it, and do that addition and subtraction first. In this example, subtracting 10 from both sides will remove some of the arithmetic from around the y on the right-hand side. After doing that, my left-hand side now becomes negative 40, and on the right-hand side, the only term that remains is negative 9 times y. To finish getting the y by itself, we then need to deal with that negative 9 by dividing both sides by negative 9. Finally, we'll simplify what's on the left-hand side by removing the negative signs and realizing that 40 over 9 is actually the simplest form for that fraction. And then realizing that because we have gotten the variable y by itself on one side of the equation, we have completed the solution of this linear equation. So to solve a linear equation, the most important thing is to remember the goal of getting the variable by itself on one side. Starting with looking at the equation to see if there are any fractions, we can use the technique of clearing denominators to get us a simpler equation that no longer has fractions, but instead whole numbers. That just involves determining a common multiple of the denominators and multiplying both sides by that common multiple, and then simplifying. Then, if the variable we want to isolate exists on both sides of the equation, we can fix that by subtracting an entire term involving that variable. Combining like terms then gets us an equation where the variable exists only on one side. To finish getting that variable by itself, the order of operations can be used in reverse, doing all additions and subtractions that will reduce the amount of arithmetic around the variable, and then doing any multiplication or division that will finish eliminating the arithmetic around that variable. Once the variable is by itself, we've solved this equation.